I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night to wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. Guys, thanks for joining me. Um, there's no way to explain what's happening. We keep going on basic textbook 101, business 101, back to basics, and nothing ever adds up when you actually look at realistic numbers and actually crunch numbers. With the heavy amount of unemployment, the heavy number of quantitative easing, that's basically deflating the currency, the value of currency and stuff. With the repo buybacks, the melt up in the stock markets, I don't even know if it's melting up or it's going to keep going up or stabilize or what's happening. But housing is up, and it's up. With the amount of layoffs, the amount of people that are out of work right now, the amount of people that can't afford to buy dinner tonight living in Canada and that work full time and that can't afford to pay for their shelter. The amount of people I can't find words to explain it. I don't even know how to make sense of any of it anymore. I know there's a lot of massive amounts of foreign investing. I know there's a ton of money being laundered through the Commonwealth in parts of the United States. New York, money laundering hotspots will be New York, San Francisco, Washington, like Seattle, and Oregon. Like, those places are heavily money laundered. But Canada's very little cities were all laundered right through. But this there's only two ways that this could happen. Now that housing keeps going up for the end of time, and they're going to have to remove cash, and they're going to have to go into negative rates. That's the only way it will work. There's no other way this will work. Or they're going to have to raise interest rates. What they should have done. They should have left the economy on autopilot, but they didn't. And they've created this massive Frankenstein monster now, and it's sold out every Canadian proper. I'm thinking my kids now, who are like 5 and 6, are completely bought out of the market right now. They could never get into this market. And that's why I told my kids, they have dual citizenship for European Union and Canada. And I told them, look, when you go to college, you're going to college in the States. You're going to pick your school, whatever you want to do. You're going to go to the States and get your education. And I'll pay for it, but the thing is, they're at least to have a chance to get some sort of a future. You know what I'm saying? In the States, when you have a housing market correction, you actually have a real correction. You could go to buy homes on auction that are foreclosed for like $10,000, $20,000. In Canada, you don't have that privilege in Canada. We don't have that. We're not allowed to get a deal in Canada. I wanted to paint my car, to get my car painted. They want $15,000. I called a shop in Portland, Oregon. I sent them a video of the car. We'll do a $2,000 all in. We'll remove the lights and the bumpers and actually do and the fenders and hang everything up and paint it properly. Wow, really? It's for $2,000 US, so 2,700 Canadian. But here they want $15,000. People in Canada need wood to build their homes. They have to order it from the States and pay the tariffs because it's cheaper than buying it locally, and it's Canadian wood. So it doesn't make any sense in Canada what is happening. I can't fathom it. I can't fathom what's happening. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know how real economists, people that know the economies, how they function and stuff. I'm doing great in the stock market. I shorted gold a little bit back. I did really well with that. I bought airlines when they were down and everything looked like they were coming back to life, and made a bit of money on that. I did really well with oil. I bought it at the bottom. I'm doing well with the markets, but for some reason I can't put my finger on the pulse with the housing market. Mathematically, it shouldn't things should be in a melt. It should be slowly melting and frothing and going down and simmering. But no, it's the complete opposite. And how do I, relay the information when I'm just going off basic numbers? There's no jobs. There's COVID. We have, I don't know how many millions of people unemployed. Why is housing going on an upside? Why are things going up? Why? Again, I'm a very strong believer in the money laundering. I think there's so much money laundered in Canada that it's just shadow flipping. I think there's so much shadow flipping happening where people are, they own two corporate companies. One person owns two corporate companies, and they sell several homes between each corporate company, so they can launder more money through the country. That's the only way I can't fathom any Canadians. We read an article the other day here on the show. So let's go to article scan. We read an article the other day on the show. It's not the article here. That BC, the province of BC, can't find first-time homebuyers. On better dwelling. Real estate discussion here. They can't find home. First, British Columbia, the province I'm in, continues multi-year decline of first-time homebuyers. So either A, people that live in BC don't need homes anymore because they already have a home, so they first-time homebuyers already bought their homes. I don't think so. It's nowhere near that. And there it is. First-time homebuyers are dropping. And first-time homebuyers cannot get in the game. And we've discussed this 2 years ago. When you can't get first-time homebuyers in the market, it's game over. The local economy can't function with Canadian proper not being able to afford and buy in their own city. Now, this article begs to differ. More homes were sold in Canada in July than any other month in history. And this is in Vancouver. But in Vancouver, they can't find first-time homebuyers. And it goes into the income levels are nowhere near where they need to be. Even with the stress test, even without a stress test, they don't qualify. So either A, the banks are cooking the books and putting a bunch of garbage. They're just putting a bunch of garbage on their books so they can keep their numbers up and hit their quotas and have their and ruin people's lives forever because they put them into a product they can't afford to pay for. And I'm afraid of that. And I'm afraid it's the big betrayal. Pulling the wool over the eyes of the consumer or the customer or the person that's just trying to better his family, his life, and his children's future or whatever, So here it is. I was wrong. I've been wrong so many times. Here it is. Trends in the housing market, melt-up layoffs. Housing melt-up before the crash. This is 7 months ago. This is even before COVID got serious, before anything. There it is. Housing melt-up before the crash. I honestly thought it was going to happen then, and it never did. Housing melt-up Canada and Australia. I'm just trends in the housing market melt-up. Here it is. I shorted gold again. Woo! But it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, I shouldn't be able to short gold and do well. I shouldn't be able to do that. Gold should be going through the roof. The more money that... the quantitative easing, or the money they put into the markets, when they quantitative ease something, is they're trying to smooth the markets out, balance out the markets. You know what I'm saying? So there isn't a crash or some disturbance in the markets, right? So here it is. Vancouver sales increased 44% on the month, 24% from July 2019. There it is. I don't know how this is possible. I don't know how. It's like me and you. It's like we're arguing. I'm trying to tell you that this is the ceiling and this is the floor, right? Now, it's gotten so out of whack. It's like you tell me that, no, Mike, that's the floor and that's the ceiling. And we're arguing the ceiling over the floor. This is what the problem is here. I can't make any. I can't give anybody any explanation on this. You got a bunch of guys with ties and shirts on that could probably give you an idea. But I strongly believe it has to do with huge amounts of money laundering. I'm talking about huge amounts. That's why the Liberal government about 8 months ago or 7 months ago stopped the money laundering investigation in Canada. They had to stop it. The entire economy was running off of money laundering. So I'm going to have to bring this up again. I'm really sorry if you guys see this again, but we got to connect the dots. It's right here. I mean, I can't make this up. Canada would be in recession without money laundering. They got 4 years covered from 2011 to 2015. Money laundered is approximately $200 billion. That includes reinvestment, typical in the layering integration process of money laundering. So this isn't the mafia opening a store as a front and then layering the money, because they actually pay taxes and contribute to the infrastructure. The mafia actually contributes to paying its way too. But this is different. This is all shadow flipping. Look at it by province. So how can the locals can't keep... It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Do you understand? I'm going to have to... Whatever my kids want to do in the future, they're going to have to go to an American college and study there. And hopefully they could get some sort of a waiver, because usually when you finish your college, there's a waiver of some sorts that you could continue working there. That's the only way I could save my kids. They can't have a future in Canada. There is no human physical way they could ever save their money on an average to high paying job to put a down payment on the house. Never mind buy a house, a down payment. They could never do it mathematically. They can't do it. It's not because I'm saying my kids aren't good enough. It's just, it doesn't mathematically make sense. And if they could, they'll be slaves. And that's why, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so there it is right there. And this is it right here. World economy would collapse if the City of London stopped laundering money, says HSBC whistleblower. Those are very big accusations to make if it's not true or remotely true. I can't make any sense of this, guys. It doesn't mathematically make sense. So let's put this into a soccer perspective. Think of soccer. So my kids, when they enter the workforce, they're finished high school, university, whatever they do, college and training, and they want to get into, let's say, HVAC, or my son wants to be a cop, or whatever. So basically, once they're in on the ground, ready to get to work, ready to get things done, they're already losing the soccer match 4-0. And the game, they still haven't laced their shoes. Their shoes, their cleats haven't been laced yet. But they're already losing 4-0. There's no way. I mean, yeah, but in soccer, if you're down 1-0, you're in a lot of trouble. People that know what I'm talking about. If you're down 1-0 in soccer, you're in trouble. You're down 2-0, it's 3-4, it's the aggregation. It just doesn't. Even if you have the best players, it's almost impossible. But here it is. World economy would collapse. So let's go back here. Canadian home sales surged in record July as home buyers emerged from lockdowns. Transactions from existing parties reached 62,355 in the month, up 26% from the month earlier. The Canadian Real Estate Association reported benchmark prices were 2.3% higher for the month as pent-up demand for homes collided with extremely low inventory levels. What a difference 3 months makes, from the lowest housing numbers we've ever back in April to multiple monthly records logged in July, said Sean Cathart, CREA senior economist. A big part of what we're seeing right now is the snapback in activity that would have otherwise happened earlier this year. So it is. So here it is, guys. Canada's economy is emerging from the steepest downturn since the Great Depression, fueling a renewed housing boom. Housing starts hit a 2-year high last month, while the latest confidence readings show optimism about prices is rebounding. In Toronto, the country's largest market, sales of existing properties jumped 50% in July compared to June, and were up 29% with the same month a year ago. CREA reported Vancouver sales increased 44% on the month of 24% from July 2019. Average prices in Toronto were 5.5% higher on the month and up 1.5% in Vancouver. There were just 2.8 months of inventory nationwide and the lowest level on record, CREA said. So the average prices were 9.4% higher nationwide on the month. So here's the deal. There's a lack of inventory on the market. There is. I did check. There's no longer an oversupply on the market. Now we have an undersupply in the market, but the markets are heating up due to the lack of supply and demand. But no one's taking into factor the empty homes. The amount of empty homes littered across the English-speaking world. The amount of empty homes. Well, France fixed that problem. See, I don't know why we can't. France. France, we don't do another one from Better Dwelling. Vacant homes are global epidemic, and France is fighting it with the 60% tax. Oops. Article scan. There it is. Runaway real estate speculation is filling global capitals with vacant homes and creating artificial shortages. This is what's happening. This is why you're seeing the mass exodus out of Toronto, California. California's been for the last 12 years, 15 years. That's not news. But I'm saying New York, all these cities, we covered this the other day. And runaway real estate, a shortage has made the local homeowners wealthy overnight, but it comes at the cost of turning lively cities into empty shells. That's what's happening to Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland, Welland, Christchurch, London, all this. London, within a 75-mile radius, is completely unaffordable for the locals. Locals don't buy in London within 75 miles of the radius. The city of Paris has decided it's had enough and implemented in 2015 a vacant tax in 2015. They did not quite get the results they wanted, so they're now tripling it to 60%. So Paris has been trying to deal with the vacant property owners for some time, despite warnings that the city will have to take action. The number of vacant homes is growing. There is now 107,000 vacant homes, representing 7.5% of residential dwellings. So multiply that by 3 people. That's 320,000 displaced people. Multiply each dwelling by 3 people. That's 300,000 people displaced. That's a lot of displacement. And then 20% of that or 15% will just become homeless, right? And Deputy Mayor said 40,000 of those vacant homes are not even connected to the electrical grid. So what happens with that is the price of electricity goes up for the people that actually pay it, because the other people are not even connected to the electrical grid. And to keep the infrastructure up, they charge the people with the electricity more money than the people that are not, than people that don't have the electricity, obviously because they're not connected to the grid, right? So here are all the major cities here. London, which I mentioned, New York City, look at the vacancy, 308,000 empty units. Hong Kong, Paris, Singapore, Sydney, Toronto, Vancouver, San Francisco, and Los Angeles is 213,000 empty units. And Vancouver has 66,000. Multiply that by 3. That's about 180,000 people displaced. That's why you have this massive homeless issue. And I don't. And then San Francisco only has 30,000, but San Francisco doesn't have nowhere near as many properties as Los Angeles does, because they have less skyscrapers in San Francisco than they do in Los Angeles. These condos. It's more houses in San Francisco. The painted ladies. Houses. You got lots of houses. And you do have condos, but you don't have them as much as you do in Los Angeles, right? If you're in the valley, right? So, guys, I don't know what to tell you guys. Okay, so homeowners are getting wealthy on paper, but who own, like, I get flooded with anywhere from 20, okay, 11, I'm going to get conservative here. 11 to 20 emails per day of people leaving Canada or waiting to leave Canada. There was a mass exodus of Europeans moving back to Europe that originally moved to Canada or parts of the States or Australia or whatever for a better life, and they're just moving back to Europe. They're like, if I'm going to be poor, I'm going to be poor in my country and be with my people and actually sit outside and talk to each other until the sun sets and get to know your neighbors and be very social. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. These cities are turning into empty shells, and I don't even know how I could even fathomably explain this to you. For years, I've been telling you guys there needs to be a correction because the average wage earner cannot buy an average home. The average tear-down home is $1 million in these 2-3 major cities in Canada. We're done for. And the major cities in Canada, like 2 or 3 that are left, there's no jobs. So you got to kind of weigh out that option, right? I don't know what to tell you guys anymore. I don't even know how. I don't even know if I should be telling this in English anymore. Because it's none of it just is making any sense. Maybe I should use it. The English language has a lot of complications and a lot of, like mistakes can be made. Like with the other languages, it's kind of very straightforward, right? If I tell you guys this in Portuguese, maybe it's more explainable. Maybe in Spanish, it maybe make more sense if I just tell this thing in Spanish. But in English, it's just not making any sense. So, in the comments below, I don't want you guys to comment and say, "Yeah, right, Mike, you're right. No one could." I know, we know that. What am I missing? What's the missing? Like our kids, I work for myself. I have my own wage. I take care of myself. I take care of my family. I'm not dependent on wages. Are wages like really like 140 grand for the average wage earner? Because if it is, I'm wasting my time making these videos. Because the average person I speak to makes $58,000 a year, $65,000 gross, and takes home like 43, and that barely buys food. So I don't know what I'm missing here. Like, what's X? When you watch those equations, W, Y, this, divided by this, and then what is X? What's the missing parameter? Or what's the missing parameter to solve the equation or whatever? What am I missing? I understand that we brought in waves of foreign investors. Western United States is completely bought out. Western United States, Vancouver I get that. But how could housing still be going up? Is this the melt up? Is this the melt up? It doesn't make any mathematical sense. I don't know what to say. Estoy equivocado. Los números no están ciertos. The numbers, they're not right. I'll read your comment. Tomorrow's trends in the housing market, guys. Maybe we can start to make some sort of... We're just going to get call-ins tomorrow. I'm not even going to... I might read 1 or 2 articles, but if you're in Sydney, you're in Melbourne, you're in Auckland, you're in Welland, I don't care where you are. Christchurch, you're in London, you're in Ireland, Dublin, Toronto, Vancouver, Los Angeles, Arizona. Add me on Skype. Come on, trends in the housing market tomorrow night. Just maybe I need to be educated. I need to be put up to speed on what is happening so that I can inform you guys properly. Because obviously I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I look forward to reading your comments. Have a good night, folks.